Hello folks and welcome. So today's video is on openSUSE Plasma Desktop. I'm going to be talking about some tips and tricks. So I will talk about how to close windows using keyboard shortcuts, how to resize icons in your file manager, and also resizing the window itself using different tricks. I'll also talk about themes a little bit and maybe some custom mouse pointers or cursors. I'm Icelandic, so some of the words I use sometimes are a little different than others. But in either case, folks, I am filming in 1920 by 1080. This video will be more than 2 minutes. All of my videos contain chapters and timelines. I'll also talk about how to disable your auto login or enable your auto login. And as a last feature, create a ShutDown Now button, which I can move anywhere around on my screen. And I'm going to talk about some cautions when I show you that. In either case, folks, welcome. My user for today is Bob. It's just a made-up name. My first tip of the day is Alt F4. So let's talk about the login screen first before I continue with all the decorations and stuff. So I can go into my regular settings here in my favorites and click the settings, system settings, or I can open up the shortcut here, either way. So I'll give you system information also this way. Again, this is openSUSE, Leap 15.4. So to change the login information stuff, go to that thing that looks like a funny looking animal called YaST and log in here. This is not everybody's cup of tea, but I will make mention of why I'm showing this. So I've been around Linux for over 25 plus years, and let's leave it at that. I don't like to see systems that have open auto logins. It's just poor security in my book. It's poor security in my book. So under security and users, the users and group management is how you can make those changes. Whether you want to use your auto login, it's your system. Most home users may find the login information annoying, maybe not. I personally like it. And when I installed this system, I noticed that auto logged in, which I did not like. So hence I went in here to change that. So under the YaST Control Center, find Users and Group Management and click that. Allow it to do its thing. When it gets done, it'll produce another box over here. I'm waiting for it to finish. Expert Options. Then go to Login Settings. I disabled my auto login. My user for today again is Bob. It's just a made-up name. But this is how you change that information. All right. I'm going to hit close. What's another way to close anything? Alt and F4. Alt and F4 to close even the YaST Control Center. All right. Let me first get this out of the way. So one of the reasons that when I create buttons like that, I don't want my workspace behavior as a single click. I like everything to be double click. That's just me. And that also has a couple of different effects on the system. But double click is what I'm using to show some of these tips and tricks. Okay. Let's first start at the appearance. Everybody likes to decorate things, maybe. You know, we have our standard themes, which the openSUSE theme is default. You got your Twilight, your Dark, and your Breeze. I installed these two. Sweet, Amber Blue, and Utterly Sweet were done through Get New Global. Not everybody's cup of tea, though. So I'm going to show you my file manager here, and I'm going to use Alt F4 to close that. Then I'm going to open up the menu. I'm hitting the Start key because I have one of those on my keyboard. Some people call it a Windows key. That does that. Anyways, you can see my icons. What I'm going to do here, though, is I'm going to click that and hit Apply. Everything just changed. Let me hit the Start key. So I got different icon sets. Even the Firefox looks different. And here's my file manager. I'll resize the icons on the fly. I'll talk about these features in a second. Just to give you the examples. Here's the full size and here's the tiny or dinky is what I call these. Now, middle of the road. Alt F4. So I'm going to go back to my theme and click that. We have application style, plasma style, colors, window decorations, fonts, icons and cursors, all kinds of choices, bells and whistles. Okay. Now, since I clicked on that theme, it left this as a mouse cursor or pointer. Again, I have sometimes different descriptions with things. Not that I mean to make these kind of descriptions, and actually some distributions call them mouse pointers. I'm going to use the radioactive one for the demo today. I'll get back to this in a second. So I'm going to use the conventional close button, and I'm going to reopen up the file manager and give you a couple of tips in here. So the first one is resizing of this box. I'm going to double click on that. Again, my behavior is set for double click, remember? So instead of clicking that maximize button to do this and then clicking that again to do that, all I do is double click on this line. Doesn't matter where. Okay, that's one item. So you have a zoom thing here for the size of the icons. So you can click the zoom thing here to resize these things. Or you can do it my way. I'm going to bring this box up a second. So I'm using a standard computer mouse with a scroll wheel on it. I'm going to depress and hold my control key on my keyboard. While I'm still holding the control key, I'm going to grab a hold of that computer mouse and take the scroll wheel and slide it up and down to resize these icons. And then I'm going to release the control key when I get them into the size I want. This comes in handy for looking at things like that. I'm going to depress and hold the control key and then make them tiny and then back up to large. And then I'm going to release the control key. And now these remain in that size. I'm still scrolling, but I released the control key. Now they're scrolling in this size is what I'm getting at. If you have a touchpad on your computer, try this out. Hold down your control key with one hand and taking your other hand, take two fingers and slide them up and down on your touchpad. It works on my laptop. If not, use it the old-fashioned way. So, a couple tips for you. Alt F4 to close. So, let me go over to here for a second. Under Appearance, under Cursors. Have you ever had a problem when you install a cursor, it doesn't install? Well, a lot of people do. And it's not only this distribution, it's others also. Because a lot of the developers of these cursors compress files differently. And it's the way it gets uncompressed is a lot of the problems, at least in my book. Let me give you an example of that. Get new cursors. I'll pick the first one called Moco Cursor. Read the disclaimer line. The content available here has been uploaded by users like you and has not been verified by your distributor for functionality and stability. In other words, a disclaimer. All right. The reason a lot of these don't install properly is the way that the things are compressed and uncompressed. But I will show you how to install this one, even though this will fail. At least it did on my system. So it says it's installed. I have an uninstall. I'm going to close this. I have a white box. I'm going to click it and I'm going to hit apply. Nothing happens. I can't see it. I can see this one. I can even see the sizes. I can see that one. I can even see the sizes, but I can't see this one. So if I were to close this box and reopen this, or I can go to another folder and then go back in here, the whole box disappeared. So what I'm going to first do is uninstall this thing. You can also look at things by show installed only, but I'm going to uninstall it nonetheless. And then I'm going to show you how to install it from a different location in your file manager, because that's where these are installed. Time to me to open up Dolphin again. So Dolphin can be opened with your regular folders, and you can also view hidden folders. Hamburger menu time. Somebody called it a hamburger menu. I kind of like it. Show hidden files and folders, Control H. So Control H it is. Typical hidden file is Born Again Shell History, bash. Has a dot in front of it. So what I did was I right-clicked in here, create a folder, and started with a period or a dot, and typed in icons. This is a very typical folder on just about every Linux distro that you install these things. Picking them, however, is done differently in some distributions. And in some distributions, you have to install a tweak tool to actually install these. But they're still installed in the same location, the folder .icons. It's already created. It's here. That's where these guys are. Azenis is that one. Pokemon is this one. Radioactive is the one I'm using. And Splatoon Yellow is this one. What about this Adwaita, Breeze, and Breeze Lite? Those are installed in the user share icons folder, protected by root permissions. Really not going to cover that in this video. The ones that are installed in Bob's home folder are installed in .icons. That one you can affect and install yourself. These three here, this one, and this one, if I create new users, they will get those three, but not these, because they're installed usually in your home folder under .icons. But the cool thing about it is I can install as many as I want. I can put 50 of them in here and then also delete them at will. You can also delete them in here and they'll permanently go away. I like to use my file manager because it moves them into the trash can, and then I can change my mind and do a restore. All right, with that said, we're going to go to a website and install this one right here. I believe all of the Linux distros get these cursors from this location. I could be wrong. So I am going to open this up and go to my on YouTube site. I have 163 videos to offer you if you're curious, if you're not a subscriber. I started this on February 9th. My previous channel had 450 videos. So I have done over 600 videos in the last several years. All right, so I have a couple of links for you. The GNOME-look I'm going to click on, but if you have a standard web browser, I can also resize text in here too. You can click that little foot. Okay, gnome-look.org. Cursors, there's also themes in here. 798. I think it was Moco. There it is, right there. One file. It's in a zip format. I'm going to download that. Wait for it to finish. Alt F4 to close the web browser and open up my file manager. So again, I'm using the control key on my keyboard and my computer mouse scroll wheel to resize these. So I'm going to first open this folder here and resize these on the fly, just to let you see that there's different file formats in here. There's tar, tar.gz, tar.bz2. These all came from that same website. And what happens, I believe, is what happens to a lot of Linux distributions is when you're uncompressing them through automated tools like this one, that it doesn't properly uncompress them. Because all the developers, they compress these things differently. But if you use your file manager, I have about a 99% success rate. So with that said, I downloaded that one. That actually failed when I tried to install it through here. So what I'm going to do is double click on that, and this is my extraction tool, ARC. And when I see index theme and cursors, I know that this is the proper way that it's going to actually create a folder. But that's okay. If I see other folders in here, I still extract it and then reopen those folders and find a subfolder that has an index theme in it. And that will need to be moved into the .icons folder. You'll see what I mean by that in a second. So I'm going to extract that out and close. All right, so that one didn't extract properly because I was pointing at something when I was talking. So that's a bad extraction, right? So this time I'm not going to click that. I'm just going to do a straight extraction and do it that way. Now when I open this, it has the index theme and other files. But this was the key thing I'm looking for. All right, now what I'm going to do is right click on it. I have a choice of cutting or copying, or Control X or Control C. So I'm going to use cut and dump it in my .icons folder by doing a right click and paste or Control V. I'm going to close this down and do a screen refresh on this. I'll just go to a previous folder and back in here. That's what she looks like. It's only available in a 32. Looks like that. She looks like she kind of lights a fire, turns, I don't know if that's a shape or whatever. It's too small for my screen resolution, but anyways. So that's a 32. Pokemon, on the other hand, here's the examples of that. Goes from a 22 through a 96. This one here goes from a 24 to 128. That's what that one looks like. So I'll do another example of this. I'll switch to this for a second. Also, when you do stuff like this, I do recommend that you actually, if you're going to keep the cursor, log out of your system after you selected it. All right. I'm going to get another one. Splatoon. Let's look for that. Let's try this one more time. I'm going to close and reopen. Let's try Splat. See what we get. Ah, there we go. Okay. Install. All right, so we have several selections. What color do you want? We have yellow already. So let's do green. Install. So this should be a green one. And we close and it has a blank box. And I think you know where I'm going with this. Okay, we'll hit apply. See what happens. Nothing. All right, I'm going to actually search differently here. I'm just going to show installed and find it. And I'm going to uninstall it because it didn't work anyways. But we want the Splatoon green one, right? All right, let's go to that website. Use Splatoon 3. We want a green one. And where's the, that's this one. Wait for the download. It's finished. I'll use the conventional close button this time instead of Alt F4. And I need to uncompress it and put it in there. So let's go to download. Where's Splatoon green? Arc tool. Extract. Extract. Looks like it's okay. Right click, cut, own, and paste. Oops. Splatoon green and yellow. Close, close, refresh the screen. There's the green one. And switch back and forth for a second. Yeah. I'm going to do a discard because I think I clicked the delete key on I mistakenly clicked that. That's not what I wanted. So I want to do that one. So I'll just switch this for a second. And then click back in here and hit apply. There's the green one. Sometimes you got to toggle these. And that's the 128 size version of green and yellow. I would be careful with, like I said, that button right there. 48. Switch that back to there and there. And again, I would also, after I swap all this stuff out, is to log out of my system, if not a restart. I also recommend that when you're doing themes too. All right, enough about cursors. Now you can see a simpler way to install stuff like this. And instead of using that delete key, you can certainly do that rather easily through your file manager. So if I didn't want the Splatoon ones, I could just, let me look at my trash. Let me get rid of that for a second. If I didn't want those two, I hit delete. And those will now be gone out of my settings. They're no longer here. However, if I change my mind, the nice thing about doing it this way is I could do a restore out of my trash. And they're back online. All right, Alt F4 to close. Alt F4 to close. Let's talk about this guy right here. What does this thing actually do? All right, since I have double click behavior on, I can probably not worry about misclicking on this thing because I need to double click to activate. So if I double click on this icon, it'll shut down my system whether I'm filming or not. If I have open files, it will not shut them down. It will just shut down the computer. So before you use stuff like this, I'll show you how to create this. Before you use this stuff, always save your files before using stuff like this. So instead of doing this, you do have 30 seconds to think about things. And I can cancel. I can also change my mind. This, not so much. You double click that, that'll shut down your system. So it's done with a script file with a fancy icon. Well, it's not that fancy, but you can certainly download icons off the internet to make it fancy if you like. File manager time. Home folder. Let me turn off hidden, Control H. I'm going to go to my documents folder. I have one script and script stuff. I manually created this file. Okay, so basically create text file. What's in here? I normally don't click that because I can run the script right now if I wanted to. It'll actually run that and shut down my system, but I'm going to let you see what it looks like. This is Kate, the text editor. Okay, I'm going to make this text larger for you so you can see it. You need to start with a bin bash statement. All right, so basically your upper, if you've never done this, the upper row on your keyboard, to press and hold down the shift key and press number 3, it produces a pound. Hold the shift and press 1, it produces an exclamation point. Then put a / normally found near your enter key. Type in bin and then another / and bash. Bash stands for board again shell. The command is systemctl, one word, lowercase, space, power off. That's the command for shutting down your system. 2 lines. I will now resize this the old-fashioned way and resize the interior of the text using it my way. I'm holding the control key while scrolling with my computer mouse. See, it works in a lot of different things. So I'm going to close this and basically point that out. This is the file that I just created, and you need to do one more thing to this script file. Right click on it, properties, permissions, make sure that's clicked. That allows it to be run as a program. Now I am going to create another one of these. I'll put it up here because my water is dark and this is a dark icon so you can see it. Right click on your screen, create new, link to location, URL, universal resource location. Call this thing whatever you want. You want to call it X, that's your choice. I'm going to call this one power down and emphasize the word now. Whenever you create these things with that script file, this will power down your system really quick. You can try this out on your own. I would highly suggest you close all your files before trying this. URL location. Click the little box here. Go to File and find your script that you just wrote, wherever you saved it. I'm going to use the same one and hit Open. Now when you create one of these, it creates a generic icon. You can see it looks kind of like a folder. If you want a fancier icon, right click on it, click Properties, and click the icon itself. You can pick anything from the system, including these weird things. But I'm going to type in the word, or actually you can also browse your own icons if you want. If you want to download something off the internet, save it in a folder and then click Browse. But in either case, I'm going to actually type in the word shut down. Because there are 2 icons in the system that you can use if you want to use one of these. But click the Applications All and you'll see those 2. So I'm going to pick the skinnier one. This one here was used on that one. This is the skinnier version of that, I believe. I'm going to drag the 2 together. So it's a little skinnier than that one. They both do the same function because they both go to the same script file. Properties, URL. They both go to the ShutDown Now script. That's what I'm getting at. It's a very simple script, 2 lines. It's a very powerful command though. Shuts down my system immediately. Use it with caution. Anyways folks, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.